Raise your hand if you've ever had mysterious symptoms in your body, or you have struggled to lose bloating, or you've got weight loss resistance. I know so many women are struggling in their health and their wellness today. Raise your hand if you've been to doctor after doctor, practitioner after practitioner. You've tried everything and you still feel like your body's fighting against you. Well, we know, I've said this many times before, the truth is that our bodies are designed to heal itself. And 3-ish years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, I really came up against another huge health crisis. And I was searching for answers, and I was struggling to lose weight, but more than anything, I was struggling with my autoimmune disorder. I was struggling in my energy and was a year postpartum. And through all of my research, I had heard about hydrocolon therapy, but had never actually found a good practitioner before. And so I'm super excited to introduce our guest today, who is a local Nashville, really the best in the country as far as I'm concerned. I can't tell you how many people I've sent to Theresa and have seen massive transformation in their health. For me personally, not only did I start losing the weight, I started getting my brain back. I was able to reverse my autoimmune disorder. And I believe truly at the heart of that, the number one reason, aside from all the natural eating and the juicing and the blending and all of those modalities that I was doing, I believe it was because I started doing hydrocolon therapy. And so I want you to really tune in today, lean in. We're going to talk about poop and colons, but ultimately, this is at the heart of so much illness. And so I'd love for you to welcome Theresa Greco, hydrocolon therapist and extraordinary conversationalist. I've sat on the table so many times and we've just had great conversations. But first, I would love for you to just share your story and we'll dive into, the science of hydrocolon therapy. And I would love to hear stories about people who radically transform their health because of what you do.
Hi. Hey, let's see here. Well, I'm Theresa, and I started doing colon hydrotherapy as a patient. My
Hmm.
doctor, 2 doctors assigned it to me, and I was just very hesitant. And they would, after I'd go back for other visits, they would ask me, have you done your colon hydrotherapy? And I'd say, no, I've done everything else, but I didn't want to do that. Because in my mind, I made it out to be worse than what it really is.
Mhm.
I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And they said, well, if you want to heal, you have to start where where all the sicknesses start, and that's in
Mm.
your gut.
Mm.
So then I changed doctors and I went to somebody. And the same question or the same assignment was for me to get colon hydrotherapy. So I found a little old lady who would do it. And again, it was just the fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
So once I started, I'm not as in tune to my body as most people are. So it took me a little longer to notice. Some people can tell right away. A lot of patients, when they're leaving, they can tell right away. They'll feel it in their waistband. They'll say, oh, I feel the fog going away. So some people are very in tune to their body, very sensitive. I
Mhm.
wasn't. So it took me a little longer to notice the difference. Now my blood work was showing that I was getting better. But I think everybody's just different.
Mhm.
Maybe it was
Mhm.
just the skepticism. I just wasn't sure if I thought that was really the making things better. But so does that
Okay.
answer?
Yes. So
Mm,
you started off
yes,
having,
yes,
that's a leap to go from, I don't know if I want to have this done to now I'm going to actually become
yes.
a practitioner.
The little lady that did my session, just sometimes you just give somebody a compliment or
Mhm.
you encourage them to do something. Sometimes that's all somebody needs is just a little. And she said, Teresa, I think you would do good at this. And so just somebody
Saw
giving,
you.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so I thought, oh, okay, I'll try that. So
Mhm.
sometimes just that,
That little nudge,
yeah. And maybe it
belief.
was God doing it. Maybe it was God giving her, and maybe that's why it touched me so much. So
Mm.
that's I was a patient. She gave me that compliment and said I would do good at
Mhm.
it, or I don't know if that's really a compliment, but encouragement. So I went
Mhm.
and got certified and came back, and then the nurse practitioner who saw me as a patient, she had a little space that opened up in her office upstairs.
Mm.
And she had a chiropractor in that space. He moved out, needed more room. So she said, Theresa, I have more space if you want it. I told my husband, he said, yes, do it.
Mm.
Again, and just that fear of, I don't know if I can do it. And he said, let's just try. And I said, but what if I fail? He said, well, what if you win? Look at all the people that you can help. And he said, and if it doesn't work, then we'll take the machine home and we'll have it for yourself. So Danny Williamson started sending patients to me. And as I was right upstairs, so when they would ask what's going on, she would send them my way. And that's how it all started.
Wow. And you've been doing this for how many years now?
Almost 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah, in a couple months, it'll be 8 years.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I want to get into the nitty gritty of colon hydrotherapy because it really is miraculous for the body. I was actually with Dr. Reisman because I have to do like annual blood draws for my thyroid. And he was the one that recommended you. And he's like, she's the best in the country. And so one of the fascinating things that I learned just sitting with you and then talking to Dr. Reisman is how many local medical doctors are going to you, colon doctors, not only for the benefits, but because sometimes it's absolutely necessary. You know, some people have to go and get surgically like cleaned out. And that just kind of blows my mind. So for me, I remember how much like I felt it instantly, even being on the table. You know, I'm actually even recently I've had a cough. I'd had a cough since September, October, 6 months of coughing, and being on the table, it was like you can instantly feel the clarity in your lungs. You feel lighter. You feel like all that bloating just goes away. And so I would love to even talk through pros and cons, but talk about the benefits. Why do people need, I mean, this goes way back. You taught me that very first thing is like, this is not something new. So why do people start doing it? And then why do people need it in your opinion?
Okay, one thing I want to touch on that you mentioned real quick is that you felt right away
Yeah.
in your lungs. So when we do colon hydrotherapy, after your session, you are more hydrated than you have been your entire life, except for when you were in your mother's womb.
Oh,
All the water that we drink, all the foods that we eat, yes, we can be hydrated, but you're not. So when the water goes in your rectum, it touches your vagus nerve, and your vagus nerve carries it in reverse to all of your organs. So your eyes, your brain, your lungs, everything is hydrated. So that's why you could feel it in your lung, because right away. So
I
it's
forgot
the
about
vagus nerve
that.
that does that.
Wow. I think you've told me that before, and that's a good reminder. So let me kind of set the stage here too. So the very first time, so one of the things that you do differently, because there's open system, there's closed system, we're going to talk about that, is you have created a beautiful spa environment. You walk in, the essential oils, the aromas in the room, the music, the peaceful music, and you have your own room. So this is a 2.5 hour appointment. And the first hour is 15 minutes of red light therapy, which is wonderful. And then you have 45 minutes in a red light sauna. So you start the detoxification process before you even go into the room. And so I really loved that. And then just being on the table was so peaceful. It wasn't anything like what I had expected. And again, I remember a friend of mine, she had talked about having it done. She had done an open system, and she's like, I think I actually extended my life because of what came out of me. And I feel that way too. I'm like, I think that I added 20 years to my life because there is, what are the things that are lurking in our colon?
Parasites, inflammation, bacteria, fungus, mold, old fecal matter, mucoid plaque, BPAs,
Cancer.
Everything starts. Remember, 90% of all sicknesses and diseases start right there in your gut, in your colon.
Right.
So by flushing it out, cleaning it, hydrating it, all those things are gonna. Your chances of getting anything is gonna be much less if your colon is clean.
Totally. And I've heard people say things like, well, your body detoxifies. You don't need to help your body. Talk about just like, can we dive deep into the benefits and the science of colon hydrotherapy?
Well, I think that may have been a true statement years ago, but now with all the foods and the toxins and things that's in our air, even a couple weeks ago, I was looking at buying sheets for our bed, but all the chemicals that they put in it to bleach this and to like bamboo sheets. I thought, oh, that's natural. But all the chemicals that the bamboo has to go through to become from a solid to something soft,
Oh,
I mean, so we are just bombarded with toxins. Even when you buy a new home, all the die-off or the die-off, or all
mhm.
the fumes are coming out of I
Yeah,
mean, there's just no way around it. So
totally.
all the foods now, seed oils and hydrogenated oils, high fructose corn syrup, additives, preservatives, dyes, color, all those things. When you have heard this statement before your body heals and detoxes itself, well, probably yes, years ago. But now with all that is
Mhm,
pushed in us that we don't know, I
mhm,
mean, all our foods come in plastic. Everything comes in plastic. Our meat,
mhm,
everything. So
mhm,
we don't know what that's doing to us. So,
mhm. And how many people in America especially are struggling with constipation?
oh my goodness.
If you're not going, what, twice a day, you're considered constipated.
Yes, and if you're eating 3 meals a day, you should be going potty 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Remember when you have a baby and you're feeding them a bottle or you're breastfeeding, and every time you're feeding, the baby goes potty? Well, because they're and same that's how we should be. If we're eating 3 meals a day, we should be pottying 3 times a day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I don't think that's happening.
no, no. And part of it is because, um, when we have all the buildup on the colon, then your natural peristalsis can't squeeze as well, or maybe not the whole entire 5-foot long colon.
Mhm.
So if it's not squeezing in some areas and you're only eliminating because you shove something in one end and it has to come out. If we have buildup, then all the part of digestion isn't happening properly. If you have buildup, it's not going to squeeze. If you have the little hostras in our colon, they're little pockets, and there's muscle rings that push it along. But some of those little pockets, the hostra, they can grow because
Mhm.
every time that poop is running by it, it's kind of pushing more into that pocket. And our colon
Mhm.
is only skin and tissue, it's not bones, so it's not going to stay a same shape. It can grow. So as those pockets fill up, so many times with x-rays, you can see that it's growing a little arm, your colon, and it shouldn't have an arm there. And it's all filled with old poop.
Oh
So
my goodness.
how are we supposed to, I mean, if there's no muscles in there to in that
Push it
little
out.
pocket, that's just gonna keep growing and growing, and
Yeah,
I mean, there's so many things about that colon that we just have no idea.
it's true. You showed me a video, this last week, and it was like 6 different colons. One of them was a woman who had breast cancer who was constipated.
Mhm.
There was a man who had
Oh,
I can't
goodness.
remember. He had we saw the parasites in
Yes.
his colon, and
Yes.
all like there was another one was like she was just chronically constipated, but all
Yeah.
the buildup. We got to see a healthy colon too. So I was like, wow, that's what it's supposed to look like. But so many of us, we never think about what's happening inside of our
Right.
bodies, and we eat and we eat and we just go through life and we have these symptoms and we feel sick and we feel tired and we've just accepted it as our
Aging.
reality or as
Mhm.
aging.
Mhm.
But I've firsthand experienced the the complete resurgence of my getting my body back just by cleaning out my
Yeah.
colon.
Yeah.
And, it's really like, to me, this is like, if you're in the natural wellness, taking care of your body, you're drinking tea, you're juicing, you're eating salads, like, this is kind of a necessary
Mhm.
thing. Talk about the history of colon hydrotherapy.
Well, it goes back to hieroglyphics. So before Bible days, they were doing that.
Mhm.
To They would, if they were going to go into battle for land or whatever they were battling over, they would have their warriors or soldiers do colon hydrotherapy before battle, and that's how they would that's how they would win that
They
battle.
would strengthen their bodies.
Yes, it would strengthen, it would get rid of, heavy, full bellies. It made them stronger, more agile, and more alert. That's what the study shows, is that they were
Wow.
yeah, so that's how they would win.
Wow.
And back then, they didn't have all the things that we're eating. They didn't have McDonald's. They didn't have hydrogenated oils and high fructose corn syrup in their
Mm.
food. They were eating the way that we should be eating, but yet they still would win because they were lighter, faster, stronger, more alert.
Wow.
Mhm,
Wow. So, what are some of the stories? I mean, even in your own story, there's a
mhm,
picture hanging up in your office
mhm.
of your before and after
Yeah,
of your
that's me.
abdomen because
Yeah.
you had lymphatic
Mhm,
cleansing or
mhm,
thermography, and it
mhm.
shows the reduction, massive reduction of
Yes.
the
Yes.
inflammation.
So there is a picture of me. So first, my son was very ill. So Uh, we
Mm.
we that's what triggered me to like, oh, I think I need to take a picture of this. So I did a before picture of what my body looks like with thermography. So it's all colored pictures, colored uh, when your body's hot and cold, the blues and yellows opposed to the orange and red. So it's a thermography scan. And it shows my body all red and orange. And you can tell that there's pieces of old fecal matter caught in my colon
Mm.
because in the second picture of my after, there's still poop in my colon,
Mm.
but it's not red and inflamed. So when it's
Mm.
red and inflamed, that's when they can tell you that it's been sitting there too long and it's causing inflammation in your colon, all that skin around that poop. So I
Wow.
could still be pooping every day, but if you've got nugget caught in there, then that's where the skin's going to be inflamed and bright red.
Wow. Man, it's so crazy to me how many people are struggling in their health today, chronic illness, and they're going to the doctors and they're getting all the medications. And to me, this is such a simple solution
Mhm.
that's doable. I'm like, buy the plane ticket, come see Teresa, go find somebody. A lot of people have asked, how do I find this? Talk about the difference between an open system and closed system.
They're both great, but they have different levels of healing. So an open system is where you're sitting in a little recliner. It's all it's kind of a recliner position. And there's a little straw that's literally the size of a straw that you wiggle down on and you put in your bottom. And the water stays on at one pressure. It just continues to squirt. And it's going in your colon, but it can't climb the whole 5 feet around the coils, twists and turns and get in all the pocket. It just
Mhm.
has one pressure. So as it's pushing in, it's just as much as coming out.
Mhm.
And then your poop comes out around the little straw and it drops into not a, into a drain
Mm.
and it leaves. You don't see it. I mean, I guess you could if you look down, but it, it's all leaving.
Mm.
So, but it's only going to be able to get from your rectum to about your left hip. Maybe if you squeezed your bottom on that straw, maybe you could get that water to go a little bit higher, maybe up to your rib, but it's not going to clean out the entire colon.
Wow.
So that's an open system. Now that does have its benefits. A lot of children have Down syndrome or autism and Down syndrome, those children tend to run constipated all the time.
Mm.
So for a child who just needs to get that out, we still can do children, but for somebody who wants to go regularly because their child is always constipated, that will be just fine. It's really made for constipation mainly. You just got a nugget down there that you just can't get out. A little bit of water on it will soften it. That's really what open system is for. And a
Mm.
closed system is where you have a technician and we're able to push that water very slowly, but just push it a little bit higher. And so it's not coming out. Now people feel like, oh, well, what if it won't pop your colon? It will dribble out of your bottom before it caused any harm.
Yeah.
And you're on medical pads, so sometimes we do dribble a little bit, but the technician just has the ability to push that water a little bit higher, and then we pause it, and then we may give you a little bit more just so that it climbs in and it gets your whole entire large intestines. And your large intestines is as long as you are tall, and it can be as big around as your wrist. It can actually grow more, but the average person, it's about the size of your wrist. Now, when it's full, if
Mhm.
there's nothing in it, then it can just, it'll just be small, but it can easily be the size of your wrist. So with the colon hydrotherapy that we do, we're pushing that water in, we're giving a little stretch so that all the buildup on the walls can come off, and then we release it and it goes all through the tube. You don't smell it, but you can watch it leak through the tube and through the
Mhm.
machine.
Yeah, you've had clients that you can see the
Yes.
parasites and
Yes.
see all the
Hmm.
it's really fascinating
Yeah.
to see what's been in your body, what's
Yes.
been lurking in there.
Yes. Typically, the majority of the parasites like to be on your right side, down by your ileocecal valve. When we eat food, it goes to your stomach, then it pushes it to your small intestine. Your small intestines is 18 feet long, but big around as your pinky. And then when
Hmm.
that food is done and your body's absorbed all the nutrients out of it, then a little flap opens up and it dumps into your large intestines. Well, that's still food. It's kind of like chopped up food. The parasites like the food. They don't like the muddy poop.
Mm.
So we tend to be more constipated over on our left side. Fresh food is on the right side, and that's where the parasites, most of them live right there.
My goodness.
Yeah. This year, no, starting last year about this time, I have had so many phone calls, people who have just left the emergency room.
Mm.
Now, I've had this the whole time since we've been in business. In the last year, the numbers have been so much higher of the call. People saying, I've just left the emergency room. They did an x-ray, and they just say that I'm compacted, that I'm just full. And I don't know why so many all of a sudden. I don't know if it's just because now they have heard of colon hydrotherapy. So now
Mm.
they know that there's a solution. I don't know if it's always been the same amount of numbers, people
Mhm.
leaving the emergency room, or if it has to do with something in our environment, or our food or whatever. But in this last year, we get several calls, sometimes in a day, sometimes in a week. It kind of varies, but so many people that are leaving the emergency room, and the doctors just say, you're full. So we had this sweet little old lady come in, and she went to 2 hospitals, and she asked them if the nurses would go in and dislodge the little nugget that's down there blocking her. And neither hospital would do it. Now,
Really?
those are nurses, those are doctors, and the nurses that work for me say that's one of the first things that we've been taught is how to get a little
Dislodge.
nugget out of their bottom. And they wouldn't do that for this sweet little lady, and she actually thought she was dying.
My
And,
goodness.
but she knew, and they wouldn't do it. So her daughters bring her to us. It was kind of like the first couple days, it was like just putting water on a brick wall. We weren't making much headway. So we would get her up and go to the bathroom, come back. And finally, the nurse says, okay, I'm just going to go in there and go get it because we're not making, I mean, she hadn't pottied in 12 days at that time.
Oh my word.
12 days when she was at the hospital over the weekend, that was 12 days. So she's came to us, I think, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. So finally our nurse goes in, gets that little nugget, and then it just all starts coming out. So we were able to help her. She went the next weekend. She came in on a Monday or Tuesday. I saw her, and the other days her daughter had brought her in, and so we were checking out. And I said, "Okay, do you want me to call your daughter to come get you?" And she said, "Oh no, I drove myself." But that first day that we saw her, I really thought we were going to lose her.
Oh my gosh.
I thought she was an old lady on her deathbed. She
Wow.
wasn't. When she came in that next week, she had her red lipstick on. She was dressed in light blue. She had her red nails on. She had her little cane, and she said, "I don't even know why I brought this in." So her
Oh,
life, she thought she was dying.
yeah.
And the next week in
Mhm.
a matter of a week, she was driving and
Yeah.
happy, healthy. She was joking. She was alive and alert. She wasn't ready to go
No.
over poop.
Well, and you would never think, gosh, something like that would be so devastating to the body, but it really is
12
because
days.
yeah, so I talk about retox. So when all of that poop sits in your colon and it's getting
Mhm.
absorbed back into your blood,
Mhm.
something that we talk about a lot is if you cleanse the blood, you heal the body. And all the toxins and the acids that build up in the blood,
Mhm.
it a lot of that is because we are constipated. I mean, all the toxic matter that just ends up building and building and building in our system. And you've seen young, like
Mhm.
college
Mhm.
kids who have had to have surgical
Yes.
removal,
Mhm.
like early 20s,
Yeah. Yeah.
multiple times. And you have these colon doctors who refer
Yeah.
clients to you because it's really like for them, it's the last
Yeah.
resort a lot of
Yeah.
times.
And it's so much better to get it out with water than to
Yeah.
have to do surgery, because once you start cutting on that colon for the rest of your life, I mean, scar tissue can build up there, and because you can't see it, you can't check on your colon every day.
Right.
So yeah, it's dangerous. We should not be doing surgeries if we can get it out with
Water.
water.
Right.
Water's so gentle.
Oh, I
So
know. So, why I kind of want to, I mean, this is a topic that isn't often talked about, I think. And as women, especially, I mean, gosh, we're in the birthing room, we're having babies, we're we're cleaning diapers. It's like we need to be taking care of ourselves. This should be a more common conversation, especially because I really do believe it's a matter of life and death. People are chronically sick today,
Mhm.
and it's kind of a silent killer, this idea of just constipation. It's not just and the symptoms I think are a little bit elusive too,
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
chronic fatigue and even things like autoimmune and fibromyalgia and pain in the body
Yeah.
is because we have so much toxic buildup in our bloodstream.
Sure. And everybody's body will respond differently to that. You could have twin sisters and they both are constipated, but one may have sleep issues and one may have skin issues. I mean, there's no,
Mm-hmm.
everybody kind of wherever your weak link is, what you're
Mm-hmm.
going to notice.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say is the number one or like some of the main key markers? And I know even with the sauna, like you have a whole sauna
Mhm.
in your sauna rooms, anti-inflammatory,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Goodness. I should have brought that list in. So, uh, autoimmune disorders, inflammation, parasites. Oh, good.
Yeah, there's so
Mm,
much.
Your sleep habits,
Mm.
your testosterone levels, your
Oh yeah, hormone balance is a
yeah,
huge,
sure.
huge conversation.
Um, oh goodness, I see all my lists. They're all different colors.
No.
You get in front of people, then you forget.
Yeah.
But so how we do it is we start you in the sauna first because the hotter your body gets internally,
Mm-hmm.
old poop that's stuck in your colon, it's kind of like clay. And when clay is cold, it's hard to break down. It's hard to move and shape, right?
Mm.
But if it's warmed up, if your parents already played with it and then you go to play with it, move it around, it's softer, it's easier to, it's more pliable.
Mm-hmm.
So when we teach your body up internally, that's why we have the patient do the sauna first. It kind of preps your body for a better, fuller relief. So that's why we do the sauna. Also, the sauna mimics a fever. And when you have a fever, that also will kill parasites. So we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to prep your body before the session
Yeah,
to make sure that we
full
can really get
detox.
everything out. Yes. And then
Mm-hmm.
something else I learned a couple weeks ago is the walls of our colon have villi. They're little fingers. They look like little fingers. It's not just smooth skin. It has little villi. And then those villi have microvilli, so little hairs on the fingers. Well, when our colon is bogged down with old mucoid plaque, old
Mm-hmm.
fecal matter, grease and grime from foods like hydrogenated oil, all of that lays on the walls of our colon.
Mm.
And now the little villi are smashed down. They can't hold on to good gut flora. They're being smushed. They're covered up.
Mm.
So micro villi are a half a millimeter to a millimeter. So I had my husband measure that. What is it? I don't know. So he has this little device and it's 10 pieces of paper. 10 sheets of paper is what a millimeter is.
Oh my goodness.
So if the villi in your colon are a half a millimeter to a millimeter, that's 5 to 10 pieces of paper thick. So they're very tiny.
Mm.
But the plaque that comes out that we see is very thick. Sometimes it's probably more than a quarter of an inch thick. So
Wow.
if that is thicker than the villi on your wall, then they're not able to hold on to the good gut flora.
Yeah.
If it's even good gut flora.
Right.
They're all covered up. So that was
Mm.
something I thought, wow, I didn't realize like,
How interesting.
yeah. So we
Well,
had
yeah, and you finish, so you do an hour of water.
Yeah.
And then you do 15 minutes of coffee.
10 minutes of coffee
Okay.
and then 5 minutes of probiotics. Yeah.
Okay,
15
yes.
minutes.
So that's amazing because you'll see a whole new release
Yes.
just because the acid from the coffee
Yes.
is toxic.
So coffee has acid in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so coffee is going to break down what water can't. So if you have a skillet that you've just cooked in and you run it underwater, you're going to get all the food chunked out. But if you look at it in the light, there's still lots of grease on the skillet. You have to have soap to get the grease off. You can run that all day long and it's still going to have grease. You need something to break it down. Well, that's kind of what the coffee does in our colon. We can put water in there all day long, And we're going to get chunks out because we're massaging during the whole session. We're really massaging. We're going to get it out, but you're not going to be, that grease is going to stick on the walls of
Yeah.
the colon, and that water's just going to go in and go out, go
Yeah.
in and go out. You need something to break it down so that those villi are standing on end. So
Mhm.
when we do the coffee, so many places, or most places don't do it, don't do the coffee enemas following, or some of them have it as an add-on. It should be it should be part of the session because you want to
Mhm.
get the grief. That's what
Mhm.
lays down our villi. So we put the coffee in, we let the patient hold that for 10 minutes. Sometimes they can't hold it the whole time. It's okay because they start to feel all those pieces are coming off the walls, and your nerves in your colon can feel it. So it thinks that you got to release. So it's okay. We can either give you a little burp or we let a little bit out. Maybe you can last the rest of the 10
Mhm.
minutes, or sometimes we just let it out. And when we do, you're going to see so much more come out when just 10 minutes ago, you were really clear.
Mhm.
Everything was just, we'd put water in, you massage, and only water would come out. We got you totally clean. Then we put
Mhm.
the coffee in, we hold it, we let it out, and now you're going to see more release. So
Mhm.
it's always rewarding to see like, oh, there was still more in there. But now the colon, now all those little villi are set free. They're not laying down on the walls, set free.
Mhm.
So now after the coffee, we flip another dial and we put in 8 different supplements that help grow your gut flora. Probiotics, prebiotics, glutamine, bifidophilus, acidophilus, chlorophyll minerals, vitamin C, and Saccharomyces boulardii. We put these in, it's bright green, and
Mhm.
then we trickle it in slowly. We let the patient hold that for 5 minutes. And then after that, we let it out. And now we're just going to massage that one out. We're not going to go in
Mhm.
with water to rinse it out. We're going to just massage all of it out. We want those little fingers now, the villi, to hold on to those supplements. We're going to get the liquid out. We
Mhm.
don't want to rinse off those little hairs. Now they have what it takes to grow the good gut flora.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
how we
Well, and you
finish.
spend an hour while you're doing the water and even into coffee and
Mhm.
not so much the probiotics, but you're massaging the
Yes.
abdomen. I mean, all the way down over to the left
Mhm,
side,
mhm,
to the
mhm. Way
back.
in around your back. So your
Yeah.
colon coils, twists, and turns, and it can go way over by your spine. So
Mhm.
we reach over on the other side and we stick our fingers way up between your rib and your hip and your back. And many of my customers who are runners, they'll say, oh, yeah, sometimes that hurts when I'm running. And we'll release it, and it'll just be a clogged portion of that colon that
Mhm.
it's not because they're runners. It's that they just feel it because of the pounding when they're running, but it's all full of fecal matter. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we massage during the whole session.
Yeah.
Mainly because if you think of a creek, it can be running clear, but there's lots of dirt and gravel on the
Yeah.
bottom of that creek, but it's clear. If you walk in it, you're going to stir it up and all the dirt's going to go down.
Mhm.
Kind of what your colon is like. That's my visual. If you just put water in, water out, water in, water out, you're not going to get everything out. You got to smush and break it off the walls. You got to stir it up and
Yeah.
break it loose so that it can move to the next section. And we go in with water and that'll pull it out. So it is
Mhm.
important to do deep massage through the whole time. Sometimes we'll feel something and we'll say, okay, we're going to go a little deep here because I can feel something. So I won't massage that deep the whole time, but we get our fingertips in there and we rock it back and forth and we break it down. And,
Yeah.
sometimes we get that
I
heel in
know.
there and
You're like,
it was painful, but it's like, oh,
no.
the little, but we're trying to break it down. And
Yeah.
the more
It's
we
like a
massage,
massage, really.
the more we push on it and smash it, it's going to come out. If we
Yeah.
don't, the chances of the water running right by it, if it's stuck and adhered to the walls of your colon, the water's going to go in and go right by it. So
Mm.
it is important to break it down and get it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the results speak for themselves ultimately.
Yeah. Well, you can see it. And if you don't massage, the water comes out clear. And you start
Right?
to massage and it comes out dirty. So
Yes. So what is you're sitting down with a woman here and she's drinking her tea and she's like, I just don't know if I want to this seems so crazy. Like what would you tell her as like a closing? What would be one anecdotal encouragement for the woman who's like, I think I need this, but I just don't know if I'm brave enough.
mm, goodness. Well, it is natural for anybody to make it worse in your mind, to make the unknown worse in your mind.
Mhm.
Everybody says on the phone when they call in, I'm so scared. I'm so nervous. I've never
Mhm.
done this before.
Mhm.
But truly, I always tell them, everybody was, even I was nervous to do it.
Yes.
But if you think about 90% of all sicknesses and diseases start right there in your colon, good grief, it's just water. Let's clean that out and see what benefits we can get from that. So
100%.
the speculum that goes in your bottom is smaller than my thumb, and I have pretty small hands. I cannot get my thumb knuckle into the speculum. I can get my thumbnail, but not my thumb knuckle. So what I'm putting in your body is not that large. Um, it's ergonomically designed to fit your rectum, and it goes in about 2.5 inches. You're laying on your back. Your knees are up in the air. Your feet are on the bed. We have you covered with a little towel. You have a medical gown on. We've got pillows under your head. We try to get you as comfortable as we can.
Not feet up in the air, like above your head, but
No, no,
like
no.
just like prop.
Yes. So your bottom's on the bed, your knees are up, and your feet are on the bed. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the hose comes out between your feet, and you're covered.
Yeah. It's very discreet.
Yeah. But once you start seeing what comes out of your body, now you're excited. Now
Yeah.
you're past the part
Yeah.
of nerves. Now you just want more to come out. You're
Right.
cheering, you're excited when
Yeah.
you see more. So
Right.
they really do. It
Totally.
changes the mood. Once we've got that speculum in your bottom and you're covered up and like now they're excited. Now they can't
Mhm.
wait to see what's going to come out.
Mhm.
Some people are sitting up the whole, it's like, well, there's a pillow there you can see, but they're just
Mhm.
so excited to
Yeah.
see what's coming out. And
Yeah.
many times, so ideally, it is, if somebody's never had it done, it is good to start with 3 sessions within 7 days. It's not mandatory to do that, but you've had years and years and years of buildup. It's going to take a little time to get out. We never want to overpromise and underdeliver. We don't want to say, oh, 1 session, you're going to be healed. No, everybody's body is different. I
Mhm.
don't know how much buildup is in there. I don't know how much inflammation. So it's going to take a while to get it out. But even if somebody just does one, they're going to be better with one than none. And they're going to
Mhm.
be better with two than one.
Mhm.
So the way that we do it with all the massage and the coffee, and then we've had patients leave us and go to colonoscopy and they have the perfect clean colon. There's no
Wow.
buildup, there's no parasites, that it's perfectly clean.
Wow.
So
That's
we know that
powerful.
3 can do it, and other places who don't massage or don't use the coffee, or they only have you on their table for 40 to 45 minutes,
Mhm.
obviously, they're not gonna be able to
Mhm.
go as deep. And then their protocol, I think, is 7 sessions within 10 days.
Mm.
So everybody has their own, not that they're just all different, just depends on where you were trained.
Mm.
But that didn't answer you said one thing. Well,
No, this is so great because I know that people just have a lot of questions, and my whole my whole philosophy is we pay the farmer now or we pay the doctor later, and we have to. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and it's worth the time. It's what's your body worth? What the health benefits of this, and there's nothing else out there that's that compares to this modality.
I mean,
There's nothing.
there's so many, but I don't think any of them, well, they're not touching your colon. And remember,
Exactly.
90% of all sicknesses and diseases start in your colon, and 85% of our immune system starts there. So
Mhm.
I don't think there's any other modality, like you say, that's going to affect our whole,
Yeah.
yeah, the
Right,
way that,
it really
yeah.
gets to the root because you're ultimately, if you cleanse the blood, you heal the body. And this is, in my opinion, the number one way to access, to be able to start the cleansing of the blood process. Everything flows through the colon, like you're
Yeah.
talking about. Retox is a real problem. So, and then replenishing, and there's, one last thing I'd like to wrap with here is that, uh, I have friends who are like, well, it's going to deplete my body of the bacteria or the natural flora that's already there. And I'm like, well, the trade off is you've got all those toxins in there too. So you have the replenishing factor with
Yes.
and your body does know how to build up. That's why it's important to eat things like fermented foods and, lots of fruits with lots of enzymes and, um, just, I would highly recommend if you've tried everything, or if you're like, I just wanna maintain health,
Hmm.
this is something to do. Like, I try to,
Hmm.
go in every 90 days-ish, and I always feel amazing, so
Yeah.
worth it. So, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Anything else you wanna share before we close?
It's not as bad as your brain makes it out to be.
Yeah.
Once you're on the table, you're excited to see all the things.
It's so true. Thank you for being
Thank
here,
you.
Teresa.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Jamie.
We'll see you more on the inside. Thanks for listening to today's show. Hit subscribe or follow and be sure to share this episode with a friend.